Welcome to the Midnight Entrepreneur. I'm your host, Easton Bennett, alongside my fellow co-host, Tyler Sinden. We are both entrepreneurs who are learning, growing, and building our own businesses, and our goal is to share our experiences and knowledge to help you grow and become a successful entrepreneur. Strap in. Tyler, what's going on, man? Episode 1 of the podcast.
That it is. It's an exciting podcast, and you know what? It's hopefully going to be a good one, but we're going to do our best.
Dude, I never thought we'd get here. We've been planning this podcast for a couple months. I pushed it off. And you know what? You finally twisted my arm strong enough for me to get this into motion.
Yeah, that's all it took. Just a little bit of little momentum to nudge you in the right direction. And you know, I had some stuff here too, and it wasn't just you, but we got here and we were talking about pushing it back again. But let's just rip it. Yeah, I texted you this morning and I was like, "Gosh, do we want to film today?" Because I was a little bit tired, and then I was like, "You know what? I think if I just schedule it, I'll finally do it." So, but I'm glad we're actually filming it, because if we pushed it to later in the week, it would have just kept going down the line. But we're here. Yes, we are.
Other than that, business, how's it been going for you? Obviously, this is a business-centric podcast for the people that are listening right now or watching. Video podcast too, hell yeah. And I guess we didn't even talk about if we could say swear words, but hell
I don't
works.
know. What do you? Sure, okay. I don't know about YouTube, what their thing is, but you know, podcasts, we don't really care, I guess.
Yeah, we'll keep it pretty clean, but I might slip up here and there.
Yeah, it's authentically us. That's what it is.
We're going full Gary V style.
Yeah. Does he swear on YouTube?
Oh, he swears everywhere, bro.
Yeah, he does.
Pretty
That's
much.
him. That's who he is.
Hey, he is his own person.
Yeah.
Had a couple meetings today, a couple business meetings. So it's going to be, I don't think we'll talk about a lot of them today. We're going to be actually talking about getting started in business and kind of talk about our story, my story in the video production field, Tyler's story in Nuevo, and we can maybe touch on New Frame Digital a little bit. I don't know if it's dormant right now, but we can get into it.
Yeah, for sure. We got a lot of things going on over here, maybe too much, but you know, I think starting out has always been one of the toughest things for me. So I think there's going to be some good stuff to touch on. And I think for you were really good at just starting out, just going for it. And hopefully you'll be able to share some of those experiences with us. Yeah,
there was this one thing I actually remember. So every time someone says something like that, where they're like, "Okay, you should start a business," or "I don't want to start," I always think about this person, and they told a story about they're juggling, and maybe it was Gary Vee actually, but they're juggling like 15 different balls. And even though 4 or 5 of them might fall, you're still going to catch 11 of them, or at the bare minimum, you catch 1. So that's kind of my process when starting things, because have a couple podcasts. Now we have this podcast and a couple different businesses, a bunch of different avenues, but yeah, just throw a bunch of stuff in the air and see what you catch. That's the motto at this point.
Yeah. It's funny because you hear a lot of other people saying, choose one thing and just stick to it, because it's like, if you're focusing, do you don't like that? No. Cause
I think cause people always say niche down. That's what you mean, right?
Not necessarily. It's like, if you're trying to build Google and at the same time you're trying to build Facebook.
Okay.
How are you going to be able to spend enough time in both of those businesses to be able to grow them to where they are? Because like, say the owners and founders of Google were both trying to start Facebook at the same time. Both those businesses wouldn't be where they're currently at, because they were splitting their time up. You know, so it's not focusing all your energy. For you're focusing a lot of your energy on your main business. You just have a lot of different avenues. And I think that's under the same umbrella.
Yeah.
Personally.
And I think, when you're starting, so a lot of people, when they say, "Oh, you need to focus on one thing or niche down," if we use the video production example, I guess we could, I can get into what kind of business I actually have, because a lot of the people listening might not know, but I run a video production company. And if we use that as an example, when you're niching down, people always say, "Oh, you should do one thing. So only real estate videos, or only weddings, or only this." Mm-hmm. And I understand that's a route to go, but it makes you the expert in that field. Mm-hmm. But then you don't know, there's so many different avenues. I guess if you pick something broad, now that I'm thinking about it, I think it could go one of two ways. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's a good starting point, because you become that expert, you learn, and you're in that same environment constantly, and you become that expert there. And then potentially, if you do want to expand out, say if you're strictly wedding videographer, then you have all that experience, and then you can maybe expand it to real estate or maybe business centric, where you want to do other forms of video, but it's kind of on the same umbrella.
Yeah, maybe you got to niche down at the very beginning. Because now that I think about it, when I started my company, I did like strictly corporate like interview stuff and a couple weddings here and there. But it's like, it's almost twofold. You know what I mean? You need to niche down and focus on one thing, but you also need to try everything to see what you're good at or what you like. But I think it has to be in the same umbrella. Like you said, I can't be a videographer and also start a bakery, which Facebook and Google are both internet entities, but I don't think it's almost like a bakery and a video production. Like they're not the same. One's a social network, one's a search platform.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess we can get right into it, I guess. Episode 1, we're going to be talking about getting started in business. So kind of tell both of our stories. Tyler, do you want to go first or should I go first?
I'll go first because I feel like you got a better story. So
all right.
For me, I've always struggled with starting, and I feel like I've had an entrepreneur mindset, and I've always wanted to start my own business. I've always wanted to be my own boss, and I've just struggled with starting. So I think a lot of this is going to come to you on how you got started, but at the same time, it took me some time, and I understand that we're all on our own paths. We all have different timelines, and for me, maybe the time just wasn't right. So at the time, I feel like I've had so many ideas, but I just never pursued them or wanted to. I just didn't know where to start. I think that's one of the biggest issues people struggle with is how do I start? What do I start? Like they might have this idea. It's like, what do I do next?
Did you have a thing in the beginning of a certain business you wanted to start, or you just knew you wanted to start something?
I think when I first started, I just wanted to start something, and then ideas started to flow in, and then it was like, I want to start this, but I don't know where to start. And it just became an idea that hit the graveyard, as I always say. So I think for me, I struggled. It's probably a little bit of confidence and just confidence in myself and wanted to be able to, I just feel like I didn't have that experience or knowledge to do that yet. But I think you learned so much of it all along the way, and you just got to start, and then you start learning how to do different things, and maybe you learn stuff along the way that you otherwise wouldn't have learned because you didn't start the business. So in my opinion, I told myself that I need to go to school, and I don't know what it was. I hate school too. And for some reason, I think it just gave me the confidence to start a business. And I think being out on my own as well, I decided to start a business, and it obviously didn't end well. I became one of the, I don't know what it is, like 95% of people that fail.
Is crazy.
Yeah. I became a part of the statistic, and that business just went under. And I just got a job, and basically my goal out of college was to.
So what was that first business?
You were a big mentor for me, and it was a video production company, but I wanted to specialize with real estate and potentially branch out into weddings because I thought that was cool. And one of the guys that we watch on YouTube, he filmed some pretty crazy stuff, and it's like, damn, that's really cool. Yeah. So I did want to get into that industry. I had a camera. I had adequate equipment to be able to get by at the start. And I wanted to be like kind of very similar to what I don't think you're very marketing based. You say you're full marketing, but
I'm a liar.
But yeah, it's
just
all good.
A liar.
Yeah. So I think that's what I wanted to do, where I was just kind of a full service, but I didn't have much knowledge with marketing. And my goal out of college was to get in with a small marketing agency, or get at a big company in the marketing department, learn, network, be a sponge, and just try to learn as much as possible with marketing in general.
I think that's one of the things too about going back to our original conversation about niching down. It's like the full service thing, how you can be a video production company and a marketing agency. There can be your end goal, kind of like the rebranding that I'm going through right now, which we can maybe talk about in a future episode about, I don't know what we can do there, but like you have this North Star of what you want the business to look like at the end of the day. So maybe for me, the North Star is I want to do video production and the marketing side, but you almost have to pick one to start. And maybe that's where I pick video production, New Frame. You were maybe leaning more towards the marketing side, but
probably not.
You were leaning more video side?
I think so, because
Yeah.
at the time I had no knowledge in marketing, so I'd
Yeah.
just been winging it the whole time. But I would have
Mhm.
probably learned a lot if I was. And at the time I was reaching out to real estate agents, so I'm gonna say I was probably gonna be leaning towards video. So
Yeah. And that's where I think a lot of people think that when people start businesses, they think they have everything figured out. Where I'm starting to learn that 95% of businesses, everyone goes through the same thing. They don't really
And
know exactly how to
yeah,
do what they're going to do, but eventually
they
they
just wing
figure
it.
it out. Yeah.
Yeah, they'd learn along the way.
And one thing, so you said this is a failed business. I always say that nothing's a failure until it's like,
Learning.
well,
Yeah.
until you stop doing it. And we've had discussions before where you've talked about going back to New Frame and what you're going to do in that avenue. But I actually have a very similar story. Is I started a clothing company when I was a senior in high school. Yeah, so that was a failed.
That.
Yeah, that was a failed business. That was actually my first ever business. And you see all these people and they have, oh, you have a successful business. Well, yeah, I made one of the worst clothing companies before I had this business. But
yeah. Hey, so I thought you were gonna go this way. The quote, "It's nothing's a failure if you learn from it."
that's true. I like that one. I'm a big
So
proponent of nothing is bad. You know what I mean? Like starting that business and it fails, it's not a bad thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You'd rather take the risk of trying than have the regret of never trying.
Yeah, because when I started my clothing business, there was so much about going into business. I was a senior in high school. The only thing I'd ever taken was accounting 1, which I learned what debit and credit means, and
Very important.
Yeah, entrepreneurship and advanced entrepreneurship, and those were, we just learned how to do a business plan and learned about the super basic things. And if I hadn't started that clothing company, which I've learned that a retail company is just so much more difficult than, oh, there's a fly in my face right now. There's so much more difficult than starting a service-based business. Because I've been in both fields, granted at different points in my life, but the retail business, even though it was just not great, I think I made like $2,000 in 2 years, which is not good. You can't live off that. But I
In
learned
high school, it's not bad.
Yeah, but I learned so much about business on, okay, you need to have accounting here. You need to fill out these spreadsheets so you know what you're selling. I learned what margins were. I had no idea what a margin was or what profit was. And you learn all those things. So even though, the business wasn't successful in traditional terms, it was successful in helping me for starting the next business.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably very instrumental in how you were able to start your next business and be able to grow it to where it's currently at and succeed with it currently.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people think that, like you said, it's difficult to get started, but I've been telling my sister this for like 2 or 3 years. She wants to get into the business world, but she doesn't know what to do. I'm like, well, just do something, because whatever you pick, it's going to be horrible.
Yeah.
And you just have to get that out of the way.
Yeah, just one step. And I feel like that's all it is. It's just baby steps. Find that one thing that you need to do and then go and do it.
Do you think people wait until they have the perfect strategy and the perfect plan and layout for everything before they start a new thing?
You mean the time and destination that never arrives?
Yes. What's that Mike Tyson quote? Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. That's kind of like business. You can have the perfect business plan and strategy and everything laid out. Then day one, you get punched in the face. A client fires you for $50,000. You get punched in the face. And you know what? Then what do you do? So I think business is all about pivoting a little bit.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. It definitely is, because the market's constantly changing. You got to be adaptable and be able to change with the waves,
I just thought of a new episode topic that I'm going to just verbalize now so I don't forget it, but we should talk about different avenues to make money based on like traditional businesses, but we'll do that in a future episode.
Okay.
So so you started New Frame Digital, then you backed off of that a little bit, and now talk to me about starting your second business.
Yeah. So the second business I started with my buddy, and we have honestly been talking about starting a business for 5+ years. And the excuse was that we were in different countries. We were halfway across the, I wouldn't say world, but we were quite a distance. Yeah, we were quite a distance away from each other. So that was our excuse as to why we could never start it. And then I ended up getting deported out of America, and I was somewhat close to back home. And, I was like, there's no more excuses now. Like, we're within a few hours, we're within a driving driving distance away from each other. There's no excuses now. Let's do it. And that's basically how it started. We're like, no more excuses. Like, let's just do it. And I feel like that's a big reason why a lot of people, and myself included, don't start, because it's just excuses keep coming up. I can't do it. I'll wait till then. And it's just, I'll keep pushing it off. So we eventually started that, and it's been launched for about 3 months now. 3-ish, 4. I'm not sure. So we just started that.
Ballpark it.
Yeah,
3 to 4.
Exactly. Yeah. So we just started that, and, a lot of learning going on, a lot of failures. And, we're just constantly learning from those punches being thrown at us, and, trying to be adaptable and try and overcome that.
And you see a lot of that 3 to 4 months in business is such almost like an infant state. You're still in the infancy of the business. Yeah. And a lot of people think that the business, some businesses are profitable right off the bat, but like even mine, I know when I started Bennett Creative Media, the first year I made $8,500, which less than $1,000 a month. And that's a service-based business where I just needed clients to pay me. And I remember I was living in my parents' basement at the time, and I decided not to go to college and decided, okay, I'm going to run with this video production thing. I knew nothing about video production besides watching a couple YouTube videos of Peter McKinnon and thinking, man, I can do this too. And I filmed a video for my uncle who has a financial company, and I thought it was a great video. It was one of the worst videos I've ever seen in my life. I wish I still had it.
When you look back at it.
Oh gosh, yeah. And at the time I was like, this video is unreal, right? Like, I know what I'm doing. Yeah. I had my own light, and there was like a box made out of cardboard and a white t-shirt to shoot light through as diffusion. And I was like, dude, this video is great. Like, I'm going to be a rich man. And I think it was like $200. And like, you don't know how to price yourself when you're starting. I thought $200 was a lot. And looking back at it now, I think I looked back on it, did a YouTube video on it a year after that, comparing it to the videos I was shooting at that time. And it was like, wow, I don't know why I ever was so confident in starting this business, because it was so bad, but it almost takes like blind confidence. Because you think at the moment you're doing things, you think you're so good. And then it's like, you look back 3 years and you're like, wow, I don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah, I hear that a lot, where it's like you think you know everything, and then like 5 or 10 years later, you look back, it's like, wow, I knew nothing. And it's like, even in that 5 to 10 years later, you still know nothing. You're still constantly learning, constantly adapting. And like, even like right now, like your stuff's really good. And maybe in like 5-10 years, you'll look back on it and it's like, wow, it's like, I thought that was good. Yeah, exactly.
You just, as you grow in business, you start to realize that you're more self-aware that, okay, I don't know everything. Whereas when I was starting, I was like, God, I know everything. I know more than Sally Joe, who's my neighbor. She doesn't know anything about video. I know so much. It's like, okay, but you're not Scorsese.
Okay, let me ask you something there, because I feel like, for myself included, confidence seems to be something that a lot of people struggle with. And it seems like you were overly confident. Do you know how that came to be? Or?
Yeah, and a little bit. So when you're starting a business, I think you need some internal confidence to begin with, almost like overconfidence. Like, I don't want to say you're like cocky, but you almost like just know it's going to work for you. Because I think a lot of people going into business, it's a little scary in the beginning for anyone that starts, because it's a new venture and you're taking a risk, but you need to have that piece that thinks, okay, I don't care what happens. You know what I mean? If I do it or if I don't. But when I was starting, I think the main proponent of it was I didn't want to get a job. I didn't want to work for anybody. So like, it was almost like, hey, go get a job and do something you hate. And I've only had one job in my life, and that was working at a golf course as a bag boy. So when the members would come in, I'd wash their clubs, which is about the easiest job I've ever had on earth. And I didn't even like doing that. So I think when I moved away from Canada after playing hockey, I didn't want to really work for anybody else. You can say that's because I'm lazy or selfish, but I just didn't like the whole idea of the 9 to 5. But I was confident, but I also knew even where there was parts where there was no confidence, I needed to figure out how to make it work, because I wasn't going to get a job. But definitely there was some confidence that shouldn't have been there for sure in the beginning, but definitely battled through it.
It's that zero mindset mentality where it's like, this has to work, because if it doesn't, it's just not going to play out for me.
Yeah. And here's some some business advice you probably shouldn't take, but a lot of times I make business decisions based on the work that I'm going to have to do after I make that decision. So sometimes, like, it's kind of like my truck now that I have a truck. I got that knowing, okay, I can afford it, but it would like kind of suck having to make the payments. And I almost got it thinking, okay, it's going to make me work harder. So a lot of times I make business decisions like that where it's like, okay, your back's against the wall. You either go live in a box or you figure this out, which is kind of exciting to have to come up with new ideas, and it makes you get creative. I don't recommend that business advice for everybody. Some people will go into a clam and they will, or into a, what do they call it? Into a shell, into a clam. Is that the saying? Some people will ball up and just won't take on the pressure, but sometimes I make those business decisions where I'm like, all right, let's just do it. Let's ride with it. Sometimes
I feel like that
you lay in bed at night and you're like, what am I doing? But
I feel like that can definitely help some people where it's like, okay, I gotta hustle because if I don't, I'm going to be in the hole. And like, so
it really depends on your mindset for sure.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I feel like I touched on pretty much, it's funny because we talked about starting 2 businesses at once, and I feel like I'm slowly going back to 2.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, we're in the talks of it, but it's probably not the best, but at the same time, we'll see. So
it's an episode 6 conversation.
Something like that. So yeah, I feel like I went over how I got started. I don't know. Do you want to talk on how you got started, where you're at?
Yeah. So Bennett Creative Media, I started that 2019. So coming up on 4 years ago, right? Yeah. Going to be 2. No. Yeah.
That's 3 right now.
Yeah.
So
3.5 years ago. And started that, and I wanted to create, and the main reason for starting it was a lot of the commercials and stuff I was seeing on TV and on social media they look like local commercials. I live in a town where there's only about 50,000 people. And I would look at all these commercials and I'm like, okay, they're fine, but like, why can't they be better? And then you watch a Super Bowl ad and you're like, that ad is amazing. You know, Budweiser's doing crazy things with the Clydesdales, and Bud Light's got the Bud Night. So it's like, why can't you have local commercials that look like the Super Bowl commercials? So that was the whole reason that I wanted to go into the video world, is because, one, I love movies. So I was like, how can I take my love for movies and my love for filmmaking and turn that into a career? And I thought the only route to go would to be, one, start a YouTube channel, which I did, but obviously that's not a short-term moneymaker. And then start creating commercials and ads and stuff for businesses. So started that the whole first summer. I think I started it in May. The first summer I didn't work for any clients. I followed the Minot Vistas baseball team around and filmed a baseball documentary. And after the summer, after the summer, I got a job offer from a news station and I turned it down. And that was the first point where I got a job offer. So I had that first hint of social proof, like, okay, I think this might work.
So that Vistas, you were doing that for free?
Yep. So I used to play baseball for Pat Arnson, who's a coach, and I was a couple years removed after going up to Canada, and I shot him a text, and we're pretty close. And I said, hey, I'm starting this new video business. Can I come make a documentary of your guys' season? And that was kind of the first test where it put my video editing skills to the test, my storytelling skills, my cinematography skills. It put all of that to the test to see, you know, can I actually make this work? And I remember I needed to pick out a song for part 2 of the documentary. And I had a buddy that worked for a news station and they had a music subscription. I didn't even have a license at the time. And I said, hey, can I just borrow one song from you guys? I'll come into your office. And he's like, yeah, just come into my office. You can browse through the catalog. And his boss actually walked in the office and introduced himself. And I was like, oh, I'm Easton. I started this video production company. And he's like, oh, what are you looking for a song for? And I showed him part 2 of the documentary, or part 1, because I was looking for part 2. And he looked at me and he's like, do you want a job? Just after seeing that video. And that's where I was like, wow, I didn't really know that could happen. So I was like, well, I don't know. And he's like, well, email me your resume and whatever this week. So I did that. And he emailed me back and it went to my spam folder. So I completely missed it. I missed the interview, everything that was scheduled. And I found it like a week later, and he said, we've already filled the position, but we'll be looking in the future. And I was kind of happy that I missed it because I didn't want to work for him anyways, but it was kind of not that I didn't want to work for him personally, but I didn't want a job because it was too easy to sell out the video business.
You
but
just started.
Yeah, that was the moment where I was like, okay, if somebody thinks it's good, that I've never met a stranger that's been in the video production industry for 20, 30 years, then I think there might be something here.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people, especially in services industries, they start out with doing stuff for free to try and get, you know, some experience and portfolio building going on. And there's several businesses that you see, and I feel like there's a lot of like quote unquote satisfying type of services businesses where they're, you know, cutting grass, and it's like they see like a disgustingly long piece of grass, or what is it, lawn?
Yeah.
And then they'll like, it's like a transformation video, and people just love to see that stuff. So
dude, I love
even
those
like,
videos. I love them so much. I actually thought about starting a lawn company one day, and I did.
Seeing all these videos,
dude. I love seeing the trends. Like, it's so satisfying. But anyways, continue. I just had to get that out there.
No, yeah, I agree with you. And I feel like a lot of people just starting out, that's what they do. They like, that's what I was doing with my second business that I was trying to start. I was offering a free video because I didn't really have that portfolio behind me where it's like, this is my work. You can hire me, where it's like, I don't have any portfolio, or I mean, I do, but I don't have much in this industry. So it's hard for someone to take that leap and be like, okay, I'm going to hire you when they haven't seen your work. They don't know what they're getting into, and they don't want to put their money behind that. So a lot of the times you're just, and it's at the same time, you're building a connection there with someone. Like, connections are huge. And when you're going out and saying, hey, can I do this for you? Like, later down the road, they might come back to you and be like, I really liked what you did. And they might hire you on later down there.
Yeah, dude, relationships. If there is one piece of business advice I could give anyone that's been in business for 20 years, 30 years, or they've been in the business for 3 days, it's that relationships matter so much more than you think. So many people say your network is your net worth. And to an extent, that is 100% true, because the amount of connections where people, I just had it happen today, actually. I had a meeting with an advertising agency, and the reason I got in contact with that person was because a new client of mine has said, hey, we're working with this company. We'd love to connect you guys. And now I have this connection, all because I've built a relationship with the previous client. So if you're, this might be getting off topic from what you were saying, but if you are starting a business, dude, relationships, prioritize relationships at the utmost capacity that you can, because that's exactly where, like, literally your livelihood's going to come from.
For sure. I think it's funny you say that, because I think both of us getting started, the reason we both got started and were able to get those first jobs is because of who we knew.
Yeah. And it's all, and people always say, oh, it's about who you know. And a lot of people hate on that, but dude, it is.
Yeah. Yeah. They hate, but at the same time, you still have to have those skills. Like, like if you go in and you don't have those skills and you do something and it's complete shit, it's like, no one's going to hire you. You're going to be stuck there because you don't, like, sure, you know all these people, but you don't have it to back it up. You know, you still do got to have those skills, but at the same time, it takes time to build that up.
And that's where I think it's almost the process, the unofficial process of how you should do things is, one, you should be pretty good or sufficient at whatever you're doing. So whether that's
for sure,
lawn mowing or baking or whatever it is, you know, cleaning a house, if you're a maid, awesome. But your skills should be good enough where other people also think they're good. After that happens, and the reason you do that is because you're setting yourself up for opportunities. You don't want an opportunity to come to you and then not be able to fulfill that opportunity because your videos suck or you suck at mowing lawns or this or that. So that's where a lot of people say, oh, he got lucky. It's like, no, they set themselves up to be in that opportunity.
Yeah, I have no idea what that quote is, but I'm going to butcher it, where it's like, luck is when time meets opportunity. I don't know what the fuck it is, but it's like, whatever it is.
If you're filming, or if you're filming, but if you're mowing a lawn and you're out there marketing and saying your services are great and you're working with all these clients, but your lawn mowing skills are not very good, or you're really bad at weed whacking, and then a huge corporate business that owns 25 apartments comes to you and says, we want you to do them all. And then you suck, And the first time you do it, it's horrible. And then they fire you. You didn't set yourself up properly. So I think that goes for any business. It's really, you don't have to master your craft because it's so hard to master your craft. That takes so many years, but be sufficient enough to be like, okay, this is presentable.
Yeah, for sure. I 100% agree with that.
So one thing I want to touch on a little bit is getting those first clients. So kind of working a little bit of what I did. Maybe you can touch on what you did too. For me, when I was getting those first clients, like you said, you have nothing in your portfolio. So a lot of people are against this, but it's shooting free work. I shoot free work. Well, less now, but the work I shoot for free now is more like spec pieces on my own. But when I was starting, I emailed and Instagram messaged so many companies on Instagram and shot them emails saying, hey, let me shoot this video for free. Let me shoot it for free. Let me shoot it for free. You just can't underestimate the power of free work because one, it's going to get you a portfolio piece. And two, if they hate it and it sucks, they didn't pay you a dime, they don't have to do anything with it.
Yeah.
So I'm even 3.5 years in my business now. And just last year, I shot a video for a company and I don't think they loved it, but they didn't pay me anything except a free product. And they weren't out anything besides whatever it took to make that product, which is 10, 15 bucks maybe. So don't underestimate the value of free work when you're just starting out. Did you ever have to do any free work when you were starting out? I know you touched on it a little bit, but you're like, no, I just went straight to $10,000 projects.
Yeah, no. I can't think of it any. I guess it was more so when I was back in college, I was doing like an exchange, like I'll do a video and then it was for the supplement company there. Okay. And they would just give me some supplements. So it wasn't really like they're paying me. So it was just bartering, a little, baby. Yeah, exactly. I technically don't think I was allowed to be doing it anyways, or be allowed to be paid off campus because I suppose you're a foreigner. Yeah. So I think that was a reason why we did that. But I don't know, like a lot of the times I was just like, I just enjoyed doing this. So I was like, I don't really care. I'll do it for free. It's like, they didn't even ask for it. It's like, I'm just going to do it and then do it for free. Like we had, this is off topic, but we had a fantasy draft and I just brought my camera and I made a little hype video of us there. And it was a cool little video just because like, you enjoy doing that stuff. So like they say, follow your passion, but a lot of the times that doesn't necessarily pan out or work, and or you can't, like, sometimes you can't do that. But yeah, that's what I was going to say. That ties into the passion thing before you go on. So a lot of times people say, well, they say follow your passion, but I think it's almost follow something you're really interested at that point. So at that point, were you really interested in cameras? Oh yeah.
So that's where, and same with me, I would literally watch every single YouTube video on cameras, how to do everything. And I think you need some type of drive for you in the beginning to push you onto that. Even when you were starting Weibo, it's like, okay, you really wanted to figure out this drop shipping thing and how to work with retailers like this. Was it kind of the same thing as when you were really obsessed with cameras?
I don't think necessarily with Nuevo. We started like branching out, and like when we started going with it, like the angle we were going changed a bit. And like when we changed that and started like writing stuff out, it became a lot more interesting because of the purpose that we were trying to go for and strive for, and for the company to resemble and be. And I think that kind of made it interesting, where it was like, okay, this is pretty cool. We can see how we can help out. And like, that's what we want to do, is trying to help people out. So adding that in there, because I've thought about it where it's like, man, would I really like to be doing this, like, 16 hours a day, like, and like in the weeds doing this. And it's like, I don't know if I really would be wanted to do it, but I think there's a lot of good things that we can get out of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I agree. I think, it's give and take. You don't want to be so overly obsessed where you ruin that love of yours, but there has to be some level of drive to get you there.
Mm-hmm. I think it was Mark Cuban. He says like, don't follow your passion. It's bullshit. Mm-hmm. Like if everyone follows their passion, like it's not going to work. You got to find what people don't want to do. And a lot of the times you're not going to be passionate about that. And I feel like for him starting his businesses, he probably wasn't really passionate about it, but he knew there was a market opportunity there and he just capitalized on it and he just like went full force on it.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times you can't necessarily follow your passion. You just got to, if you truly do just want to make money, you got to find that opportunity and just kind of pursue it.
And a lot of the times the passion isn't directly related to one specific thing. It's more of a broad passion. So my passion is movies, right? Like I love movies. I love watching TV shows. I personally, my job has nothing to do with movies and nothing to do with TV shows, but I found a way to combine those. So maybe, the founder of an oil company, do they love oil that much? Is their passion oil? No, but they might love working with people, or they might love managing people.
I think they like money.
I think so too.
Money.
I also like money.
It's too lucrative. Yeah.
I should be in the oil and gas industry.
Yeah, it's time to switch up.
Yeah, but maybe
like there's lots of oil out there in North Dakota. We'll get started.
Oh, there's plenty. Less now than there was about 10 years ago, and that's one thing we probably forgot to mention. Both of where we reside. I'm in North Dakota and Tyler is in Toronto or close to, right?
Close to.
Where is it? Windsor?
Yeah.
Windsor, Ontario. Around there. Just in the tri-state area or the tri-state, whatever, 100-mile radius. Or I guess in kilometers, whatever you weird Canadians do. But yeah, that's kind of, now you guys have a little inside look at where we're currently speaking from. That's why we're not in person, but.
One thing I do want to say before we do move on to the next thing, the quote that I butchered, luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity.
Yep.
So I just wanted to get that in there.
You were close.
I forgot preparation.
Preparation. Have you seen Austin Powers where he says, and we're going to call this Operation H? Or I think he says like Preparation H or something, which is like, I think a medical thing for like not having diarrhea or something like that.
It's been a while.
Yeah. You'll have to rewatch it tonight. We can discuss it next week. But all right, what do we want to get into? What else we got?
I think moving on to like tips for starting out, like, do you have any like good tips on starting out? Like,
So some tips I have for starting out, get your T's crossed and your I's dotted to begin with, as far as like the financial side of things goes. One thing I started out, I had no idea where my money was going, how I was getting paid, all that stuff. And it doesn't have to be anything crazy. The way I started out is I had a Google Sheets, which is free to use. Sign up for a Google account and use it. And pretty much everything I did, there was one document that was expenses. So if I bought something, I would write down what I bought, the price it costs, and the day I bought it. And I would just make that spreadsheet. And then on the other document, it was strictly income. So the income was like, okay, I got paid $500 from this person. This is the date I got paid. Here was the client. And then just keep that in a spreadsheet. And I still do that to this day, even though I have an accountant that does all of my stuff. I just like to do that for my own internal stuff. The second thing is figure out and this kind of goes along with the same thing, but figure out your business entity to start with. There's maybe an episode we can get in down the road. I don't know if we want to get into it, but there's, so many different avenues you can go down, where it's an LLC, an S Corp, a DBA, which is doing business as. So, if it's Easton Bennett doing business as Bennett Creative Media, you can do that. But there's a lot of different legal terms in there where, if you get sued for this is what they can take from you. But if you do a quick Google search on, what all those things mean, you'll figure it out pretty easily. I just recommend doing an LLC. If you can't afford an LLC, do a DBA. But those two, so get your stuff figured out in the beginning and then do one thing every single day that pertains to that business that can get you to the next step. So I would say take one step a day. And there's this quote, it's from a book. I don't know. I can't remember what book it is, but there's a horse and a person in a dark tunnel. And the person says, I don't know if it's a horse, but I like to say it's a horse in the dark tunnel. And the guy says he can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And he sees, can you see your next step? And he says, yes. And he says, okay, just take that. So do one thing every single day that'll get you to your 10-year goal. Not saying you have to set a 10-year goal, but just do one thing a day. Whether that's, in my case, it was video production. So every single day I filmed one video. And what that started with was me starting a horrible YouTube channel where the videos were really bad, but the excess amount of content that I was producing was one video a day. I was learning how to use my camera. I was learning angles. I was learning how to frame things. I was learning how to, talk to the camera. So do one thing every single day, whether you're starting a bakery, bake one cake a day, figure out a new flavor every day. And then that'll hopefully get you to where you need to be. The progress you'll see after like 3 years will be incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like those. I think the first two were a little high level, but I think it's good to know. And I think starting off with the third tip that you said is just taking that one step, figure out what that one step is. And I think that should be a good starting point. Like, I know it sounds extremely simple, but at the end of the day, that's what it is. You just got to take one step closer to where you want to go and figure out what that is.
Yeah. And I think this is one thing I'm really passionate about, is that the one step cannot be in your head. If you want to start a podcast, don't just think, okay, step one today is thinking about what the first episode is. No, write something down somewhere, plan something, film the first episode, do something actually tangible. You can't just like sit on your couch and be like, oh, what's my one step today, and just brainstorm. You actually have to go out there and physically do step one. Next day, do step two. It might take you 4.5 years, but it's better than I was almost got this tattooed on me. It's one day or day one. You decide. Not the whole thing, because that would be a stupid tattoo, but that's the quote. It's like, to yourself, are you going to keep saying one day, or is today day one? I think about that a lot.
For sure. There's a quote that we're just living
this
podcast off.
Guys, we know nothing ourselves. We're just quoting other people.
Yeah, this is just gonna be a podcast on quotes, but
we read books.
I really like today was tomorrow yesterday. Yep. Is that right? Yeah. So it's very similar to what you're saying there. So that's one quote that stuck with me. So it's like, just take that one step, and you're going to be one step farther. And over a course of a year, if you do 365 steps, that if you're only doing one step a day, but you can still do more. Yeah. But that's 365 more than you otherwise wouldn't have if you didn't take any.
I think another tip I'd say, starting in the beginning, is don't be afraid to ask other people for help. In the beginning, you think you want to do everything yourself. And I'm not saying help like, please help me, but just ask them. They're like, hey, how do you do this? How do I market? How do I open a Facebook account? Or how do I do this? Just ask the people that have been around this stuff before. It's going to expedite your process so much more, or expedite your business.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I feel like I'm guilty of that, where I just want to do everything on my own. I feel like I can do it. I just like, oh yeah, I can do it. And it's just like, okay, I've just been sitting here for like 6 hours stuck. And it's like, I could have just easily went out and asked someone like yourself, or, I could have just easily done that and it would have been solved. But I'm stubborn and I don't like doing that.
Well, and a lot of it is pride. Like, you think, okay, I want the credit of figuring out by myself. You know what I mean? But what's cooler, figuring out by yourself, or like being richer 2.5 years quicker? What's cooler? So yeah, just ask people. And it doesn't have to be huge things. I'm a proponent of not telling the whole world what you're doing next or what's going on. You can obviously have that close circle which you share important information with, but just ask those quick pieces of, hey, how do I do this? Or, hey, what do you think about this? And you'll get feedback. The feedback from other people is tremendous. And I'm guilty of not doing that in the beginning either.
Yeah. And I think it doesn't even have to be people. Like, we have the internet, there's Google, there's YouTube, that can help out so much. Like, your answer can probably get answered there easily. And for me, school did not teach me how to start a business. I was able to start a business in America within, 15 minutes. And all I did was go on YouTube. I looked it up and I started
capitalism, baby.
Yeah, exactly. I looked it up, found out how to file an LLC, and I got a LLC filed within like 15 minutes, all on my own. And I'd never learned it before. So there's resources out there that can teach you how to do this. And I feel like they're free too. So it's like, why not just use them?
Yeah. Don't pay a lawyer to start your business. I promise you,
don't think so?
No, I didn't. I mean, no, I know lawyers. I have one of my clients is a lawyer, but like it's easy enough to do on your own. Like it's literally just paperwork you print off from the United States
Yeah.
government or wherever you print it off from.
Yeah, I think if you want to learn, then do it on your own. If you have the money and you want to save yourself the time and effort, then you can go and do it. But at the same time, it can be done fairly simply by yourself. So
Yeah.
I think it depends on who you are. Like I wouldn't say
What's your cash flow
don't.
like? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like how are you starting out? Because a lot of people, they're not starting out with a lot and they got to bootstrap it as much as possible.
Yeah.
So I think it just depends on your situation and you just got to evaluate it there.
And when I was starting, I think I put $1,000 into my bank account. I started the business with $1,000, and I think an LLC, I don't know what it costs, 150, 250 bucks, somewhere in there to have it for good. Whereas depends what state you're listening in, but I'm sure they have different rules in different places. I think California, you have to pay like $1,500 a year to even operate a business.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Colorado is 50, I believe.
$50 a year. Yeah. And I guess there's something a year in North Dakota too that my account just takes care of now, but just Google those things. It's pretty easy. A lot of people think, oh, I'm starting it's this big thing. And it's like, no, you don't have to have everything figured out in the beginning.
Yeah, definitely. So I don't know. I feel like those are some good starting points for starting a business. So do you have anything else to add there?
No, I just maybe say you kind of have to be obsessed with it. A lot of people don't understand. I'm speaking for the masses here. I mean, I'm sure, I don't know if a lot of people, but a lot of people I talk to are, when I say a lot of people, I mean myself when I started. I'm a lot of people.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be pretty easy, right? Running a business is not easy at all. Like you almost have to be, I remember staying up until midnight every single night. Literally just, I bought a filmmaking course, full-time filmmaker, that really expedited the process of me learning how to operate a camera and working with clients. But I watched the whole course. It was $600. And I was like, this is a huge investment. And I watched the whole course in I think like a week. And it was like probably like, maybe it wasn't
just binged it like Netflix.
Yeah, literally the whole time. And I would take notes and I've rewatched episodes, but you almost have to be obsessed with doing that thing. You can't start a business and be like, I'll get to it next week. It's like, no, it's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be hard in the beginning, but once you eventually get to the point where it's like, okay, this is working or this can work, that's when you start to be like, okay, this is going to be fun. But yeah, you just be aware that it's not going to be all sunshines and rainbows to begin the business journey.
I think that's a good point to touch on. And that's just not quitting, being able to stick it through those tough times, especially in the start. The start's going to be fairly tough. It's not going to, like you said, it's not going to be sunshine and rainbows all the time. There's going to be a lot of times where you're struggling, you're trying to find work, you're going out there trying to do some guerrilla marketing. It's going to be tough and you just have to be able to stick it through. And there's one book about knowing when to quit. So like, don't quit when it's hard. Quit when you know it's right. Yeah. Like I'm not saying quit, but there can be a point when you can quit and it makes sense. But there is times when you don't want to just because it's hard. Just because it's hard, you just got to like go through those tough times because that molds you into a stronger person to be able to go through and be able to sustain those future times when it is going to be tough, and it just keeps building you up and you keep getting stronger and better.
No, I agree. And honestly, like the hard times are going to be there. I went through in 3.5 years in business, there's been some crazy things that have been like, okay, maybe this isn't for me. But at the end of the day, if your back's against the wall, what are you going to do? You're just going to have to figure it out. So, that's what keeps me going. But yeah, it's definitely something where just be prepared, mentally prepare yourself that not everything's going to be easy the whole time. And if you want it to be easy the whole time, then just go get a job. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's a pretty good episode 1. I don't know what else we got for that, but what do you think, Tyler? I got another
quote.
All right, let's go. Let's rip the quote. We got to count how many quotes we've had on this episode.
Yeah, I don't think we had enough quotes in here yet. So
try to hit 30 quotes an episode.
I don't know if you heard this one, but Jim Carrey was talking about his dad. And he was saying that he was an accountant because it was safe and he wanted to play it safe because he could have a job, and he was doing something that he didn't enjoy because it was safe. And then eventually they let him go.
Yeah.
And you're going to fail either way.
Yeah.
So why not do something that you truly love?
There's risk in everything. I saw a TikTok last night from Jordan Peterson. Is that who it is?
No, it was Jim Rohn.
Was it? Okay, yeah. Is that the one you sent me?
Jim Rohn. Yeah, it was.
Yeah. And it's pretty much like, okay, there's risk in having a 9 to 5, but there's also risk in starting a business. So it's like, what do you want to risk? You know?
Yeah.
Like, do you want to wake up every day and just think, oh, another day? Or do you want to risk it on that business that day? So look at that. Look at that end of the tunnel light we're leaving the people with.
A few more quotes.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, I think that's all the questions I got. Tyler, you got anything else before we wrap this up?
I don't think so. I think just, take one step, figure out what that one step is, and, go in that direction, figure out what you want to do, and then figure out what one step needs to be done and slowly take those steps. It's going to be a long process. It's going to be hard. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, and you just want to make sure that you go through those tough times.
So figure out step one today. Do step one today. Episodes every single Monday morning, unless we tell you otherwise, but we're going to be bringing these to you every morning. Start your week off hot. Start your week off in the right mindset, and we'll go from there.
Love it.
That's episode 1 of The Midnight Entrepreneur. If you found value in this content or found this entertaining, share this with a friend or post it on your story. If you really enjoyed the show, we'd love a rating and a review on wherever you're listening. Talk to you guys next week for another episode of The Midnight Entrepreneur.